Hello, everybody. My name is Sherry Sutton. I am your marketing mentor, and I'm here today with the fabulous Emily and Natalia. I'll let them introduce themselves. Natalia?
Hi, I'm Natalia. I'm the owner of Power Up Brand and Design, and we do brand and website design for small businesses and helping everybody get more eyes on your business.
Hi, I'm Emily Conley. I'm the owner and lead copywriter at Emily Writes Well, where we write clear, compelling website copy, sales page copy, and emails to help small business owners make a bigger impact and grow their businesses.
Awesome. So after working on numerous projects together, the three of us decided that we wanted to put together this seminar to talk to you about how to grow your business with effective personal branding. So, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but people usually come to me to help them define sort of their overall marketing strategy. Like, I know I need more visibility, but I don't know what that looks like. And often that includes both professional copywriting, for whether it's just your standard blurbs that you use on social media or your website. And Natalia then helps us with the overall look, the logo, all of the pieces of your branding, as well as SEO implemented websites. And so the three of us together are your go-to team for personal branding. And so we hope that you really enjoy this content, and we'll dive right in.
Go for it.
All right, we just introduced ourselves, so we won't go back through this again. All right. Why is personal branding important? Personal branding is important because people buy from people. We tend to forget this sometimes when we build a business and we create, a business name and we make it look all fancy. And we forget that really a sales interaction is a person buying from another person. And because of that, it means that you really need to show up in your business as a person, not just as a corporate entity. And this is particularly true if you are in a highly competitive environment, especially my service providers, coaches, anything like that. You really need to find a way to stand out. And often personal branding is the best way to stand out because no one is you, right? No one is as unique as you or authentic as you. And the more you can show up authentically, the more you're going to be able to differentiate yourself because people want to buy from you as a person. So a unique personal brand is absolutely key to your business growth, but it's a real struggle for some people who are maybe not used to being the center of attention. They're not comfortable being the center of attention. I hear this from my clients all the time. Like, I know I want to get visibility, but I don't want to be in front, or they feel like they're not worthy of being in front. But I promise you, one, you're worthy. Two, people want to buy from you. And three, the only way that they're going to know that they need that special gift that you have is if you show up publicly in your branding and as your own unique self. And that's the only way you're going to be able to grow your business. So what is a personal brand? So a personal brand is just all the ways that you represent yourself to the world, both in person and online. And it needs to be as distinct as you are. Now, if you feel like you don't have anything that's unique about you, that's absolutely not true. I promise you, everybody is a little bit unique, and those differences are the things that make you so special. So the things that are included in a personal brand are things like the words you use, and that's where I have Emily help us. Your tone of voice, right? Are you like me and talk really fast? Do you talk really slow and really deliberately with your words, right? That's a huge part of your personal brand. The visuals that you use, and this is where Natalia is such a at really honing in on what colors and what visuals are going to best represent you, your overall vibe, what you wear, when you choose to communicate and how. All of those things make up your personal brand. So who needs a personal brand? Well, anybody in a highly competitive market, which we really all are, and anyone who they are the difference in their business, right? They are the front person or should be the front person. So these are things like marketing mentors like me, brand designers like Natalia, copywriters like Emily, hairdressers, politicians, realtors, authors, therapists, personal stylists, financial planners, musicians, podcasters. All of these folks need to have personal branding. And the best way to stand out is through your own personal brand. Okay, so what are the benefits of a personal brand? Well, besides being a place where you're differentiated, and besides being the way that you can really connect with someone as a person, because again, people buy from people. One of my favorite benefits of a personal brand is that it can take you wherever you want to go in your career. So it allows you to explore other opportunities as you move on. One of the things that happens when we start a business is we'll often create a name that kind of goes in front of our business. And we're like, no, that's the business and this is me and I want them to be separate. But what happens is all careers evolve. And what happens is that if you haven't been in the front creating a personal brand, if you decide like, hey, you know what, I don't want to be, let's say, a marriage counselor anymore. I want to be a counselor for families, or, I want to do addiction counseling or something like that. If you haven't created a personal brand and you've only focused on a business entity that has a very specific offer and a very specific message and a specific vibe that doesn't connect with you, it's very difficult for you to transition into another business. Now, if you're like me, I'll use as an example, I created a very strong personal brand as a photographer, which was my first entrepreneurial journey. Because I had such a strong brand, I was very easily able to add on my marketing consulting to that because people already knew who I was. They knew what I stood for. They knew my vibe. They knew that they wanted to work with me or didn't, which is cool too. And so it allowed me to transition. Another great example of this is Oprah, right? Oprah, right? Oprah is a household name. She's not, she owns a company called Haro, but we don't talk about that, right? We talk about Oprah. We know her as a strong personal brand. And that has allowed her to explore a wide variety of career options, right? She really started her personal brand as a talk show host, but she leveraged that into an acting career, a producing career, a magazine, into Oprah's favorite things, right? Where Oprah's book club. She has a line of tea with Tivana. She actually had a line of food, which I don't think made it through COVID, but she had a line of food. Like, that's crazy. Oprah had food, like food, talk show host, magazine, movies, like. But it's all because of the fact that she created her own personal brand. And they even named the power of her personal brand the Oprah effect, right? Her brand is so powerful that if she just puts her name on anything, it's going to do well. Okay, so how do you communicate your personal brand online? We talked about some of the ways you do it in person, right? The tone of your voice, the way you show up. My glasses are part of my visual brand, right? But there's lots of ways you can do it online, which is the way that we interact the most with our potential and our existing clients. So this can be done through your website, your social media, really your entire digital footprint, whether it's YouTube, podcasts that you're on. You just always want to make sure that no matter what you're doing, it's authentic, consistent, and unique. Okay, so now we're going to talk about 3 different components of how to create your personal brand. And each of us is going to talk about a different section in this, and I'll start. We're going to talk about creating a custom personal branding strategy. Then we're going to talk about how to create a distinct visual look for your brand, and that'll be Natalia. And then we're going to talk about creating a magnetic message and copy with Emily. Okay, so When you're creating your overall personal branding strategy, you need to answer 5 questions. And these questions are what? So what impact do you want to have in the world? I believe that the most powerful businesses are the ones that are not only profitable, but purposeful. And so really diving in and say, what difference do I want to make in the world? When you know that, it helps you to show up in a very different kind of way in your marketing and in your business. The second question is who? Who do I want to serve? And I like calling it service as opposed to calling it, your customer avatar, because it's more about that personal exchange of people buying from people, right? It's about service. And from service comes impact and comes profit. Okay, the third thing you want to answer is why. Why do they need me? And this sometimes is the most challenging thing for people to answer. But when we really understand what our customers' challenges are and where they want to be, what the transformation is that they want to get out of working with us, it makes a huge impact. The fourth thing you want to answer is how. How can you talk to them in a way that they know that they need you? So I can talk to you in a way that, I just talk, right? Talk about exactly what my product does. But really you want to talk to people so that they know why they need you. And that's a very different take on something that Emily, when she helps you with your copy, is a real master at, of not just talking about the features, but what's the transformation that you're going to take them on. And the fifth thing that you want to answer is where. Where can you talk to them to get their attention? And this is something that I ask all of my clients, which is, where do your potential clients, right, the people who you want to serve, where do they hang out, right? And it's a funny question because you never think about that, but that's really the start of our promotional plan, is where do they hang out? Because we want to go to where they hang out. If you do social media, but your clients are, let's say they're government officials and they're banned from being on TikTok, right, at work, then that might not be the best strategy for them. So where do they hang out? So once you've answered those 5 questions, you really are ready to put together your overall strategy. And when you work with me, I have kind of a very specific 3-part process. The first one is rooting. And this is where we really focus on, why are you making this business? What is the change you want to see in the world? What's your mission, your vision, your values, your superpowers, your goals, and your lifestyle desires? Because we can create a business where you work 200 hours a week and you're miserable, and that's not what we want, right? So really rooting in on, what does this business feel like? What's the change you want to make? And that's our rooting portion. The second portion is where we talk about service. And again, service is, who do we want to serve? What's our client avatar? What are their challenges? What are the solutions that we can provide them? What is the transformation that we're going to take them on? What's our magnetic message? What's the product mix and service? And this might not be the final magnetic message that you're actually going to put as the headline on your website. That's something we can get, Emily to help us with later. But it's just overall, what's the key, things that we want to hit on when we're doing our marketing. Because the greatest marketing takes people on a journey from where they are now to where they want to be. So we really want to understand that in this service component. Now that we understand not only why we're doing this, but who we want to serve, then we can start working on the third part, which is our attraction strategy. People tend to go straight to attraction and say, I need a website. Right? Or I need this, or I'm going to start a YouTube channel, but they don't really understand who they're talking to and what the transformation is that they're going to take them on. And so the things often that they choose maybe aren't right. And so you need to understand that rooting and that service before you move on to attraction. And once you do, the attraction gets much easier to put together. So this is sort of the traditional things you think about when you think about marketing. It's your sales funnel, your campaign calendar. So what am I going to focus on when? Your marketing activity mix. And that just means, am I going to do social and networking, or networking and podcasts, or whatever that mix might be, because you can't do everything. The frequency with which you're going to show up, and what your resource assessment is. And this is an important piece as we start moving forward to talking with, having Natalia speak and Emily speak, because one of the things we do at this phase is we say, okay, what resources do you have now and what resources do you need? And 90% of the time, we don't have a strong visual brand. We don't have a strong website. We don't have a strong way of talking about ourselves with rinse and repeat content like Emily puts together. And sometimes we're like, you know what? I have a full-time job, so I'm going to need somebody to help me with these pieces, or I'm really terrible at being on camera. Sherry, can you interview me? And we'll use that for Reels. So we'll really spend time on a resource assessment as well. Okay, so next I'm going to hand it over to Natalia to talk about creating a distinct visual look for your brand.
Awesome. Okay, so visuals. We are in the online space, so we need to see the things, especially as service providers. Most of the things that we do, we can't touch. Unless, you're a photographer, but you can print the photos, but the actual service is you taking the photos. So when you are a service provider, the visual part is key for people to remember you. So once you have the strategy, like Sherry walked you through, you know who you serve, how you serve them, what makes you unique. You want to use that strategy to create breadcrumbs. And this is like a Hansel and Gretel kind of vibe. Every crumb that you drop has to take you to the same place, visually, emotionally, with strategy, with the words. So everything that you do has to lead you to the same location. And this is you. We want people to remember you. So everything that you do, you create your content on Instagram, on TikTok, on LinkedIn, your website, your emails, every single thing you do to get eyes on your business needs to look and sound the same. Not boring like the same, but the same like it comes from the same person. And to assure that people understand that it's coming from the same person, you need to give people cues, sensory cues. So this is visual cues, auditory cues, and that's why visual is so important. So when we design anything for our clients, especially for branding, people reach out to us and they're like, oh, we need a logo. The logo is the last thing that we do. So literally we start with the strategy, define your secret sauce, and then once you have that, you can actually pick the right colors, the right fonts, and everything that can tell your story. So if you are trying to tell a story of passion and fire and energy and excitement, you know now that you need colors that are bright, colorful, exciting. So that is why strategy always should come first before you jump in and start hiring people to design your logo or go on Fiverr on your Facebook groups. First, always sit down and work on your strategy. So looking at these examples that we have here for some of our clients, once you have the resources, like Sherry said, then it's easier for you to market yourself. Sometimes I have clients that sit down and they take 40 minutes to create one post on Instagram, and it's because they don't have the resources, meaning, yeah, they can use Canva. Canva is super easy, but do they know their colors? Do they have a go-to phrase? Do they have a go-to font? So once you have the ingredients for the recipe at hand, creating content and marketing your business becomes so much more faster and easier and effective. So that's why we try to custom all of our brand projects for each and individual. Every client looks different and sounds different. Okay. And Sherry, which is one of our clients, is the best example. She's been building her personal brand for a long time. She is super consistent on how she uses her brand, her colors, her fonts. You can find them on her podcast, on her social media, on her website, and in her photos. Brand photography is key because it's also a visual cue. So that's where you're combining all those brand resources and really leaving those breadcrumbs for people to identify you. So they're later on, and this happens to Sherry all the time, when she's, going to a networking event or somewhere and she shows up with her glasses, even if people don't know her and they have seen her before on social media, they're like, oh, I've seen you on Instagram, or I know who you are, I know what you talk about. So that is the idea, that recognition through those visual cues. And talking about breadcrumbs, the part of your visual branding that is most important is not consistency in how many times you post or how many emails you send. It's about showing up as the same person and business in every place that you show up. So I think that's kind of like the myth. Everybody talks on Instagram and all those gurus. Consistency, you have to post 7 times a day, or consistency is really about having the same consistent message in visuals, in words, in tone, in your services and what you do. So for a long time in marketing, they've been talking about the rule of 7. You have to show up as the same brand 7 times, at least 7 times, for people to recognize you or commit to that purchase decision. But in 2024, when you're bombarded with visuals on your phone, on your computer, on TV, 24/7, 7 is just not enough. So I recommend 7 times 7, just because there's so much out there to see and look at and listen to. So when you show up on your socials using, this is a super silly example, but if you show up on socials and you're using blue in all of your socials and people understand that this is like that blue lady that does accounting, and then you send an email and it has a random logo that's purple, and then you go to your website and your website is, I don't know, yellow, then for that person that was trying to follow your breadcrumbs, everything just falls apart. Who is this person, and why I should give this person $2,000, $5,000, whatever you're charging your services for. So it is all about building trust, because when you show up as the same person everywhere, then that person that's looking for you can feel that safety that, okay, this person delivers the same everywhere she is. She's legit, she's professional. This is what I can expect of that experience. And that's how they commit to that purchase.
Okay. Thank you, Natalia. So next we're going to move on to Emily to talk about creating a magnetic message and copy.
Yeah. So just like Natalia was talking about with being consistent visually, you also need to be consistent with your words. And so a thing that happens a lot with the clients I work with is that they will sometimes have a really strong visual brand and they use the same fonts and colors and they match their personality and they have that in place. But then they default to a kind of like generic professional way of talking that doesn't actually match the way that they are. And so what happens when you have that disconnect is when people get on a call with you, like, so someone, reads your emails or reads your website and they're like, oh, okay, she's really straightforward and really professional. And then they get on a call with you and you show up like I do, just very laid back and like not super professional. Not that I'm not good at what I do, but like I'm a very laid back, friendly, like relatable person. I'm going to be all over the place. Like that's how the experience of working with me is. And so there can be a disconnect. And I had this happen at the beginning of my business. I was trying to show up as a person I thought I was supposed to be in my words. And so I saw all these people being really successful with this like very specific brand voice, right? The way that they showed up. And I tried to emulate that. And it was just like a big disconnect. And it's really hard to fake who you are. And so I think that's kind of the theme through all of this is the power is really into like leaning into who you really authentically are. And when it comes to your words, people are out there looking for you. So your clients, your ideal client, actually needs to hear what you're saying in the way that you say it. So there may be 40 other people saying the exact same thing you're saying, but your ideal client needs to hear it from you because you understand exactly what they need. You understand what's confusing to them. You understand the emotional connection that you need to make, and they really need to hear it from you. And so when you create a truly magnetic message, it's grounded not in how you want to appear, but it's grounded in who you truly are and what your clients truly need. So you have to be really, really clear. So all that strategy piece, right, that Sherry walks you through, and then all the strategy that Natalia walks you through sets you up to genuinely understand who you're talking to. And when you actually deeply know who that person is and what they need, you can speak very clearly, very directly to those needs. So it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be like a lot of words. You can very simply tell them what they need to hear and connect that bridge of like where they are now, where they want to be. You tell them exactly how to get there, and then they are sold. When we talk about your brand voice, that's really the tone, right? So Sherry was saying, she shows up a certain way. She's got a lot of energy. She's got a lot, she shows up very, very professional in that she knows what she's doing, but also very fun and very inspirational. And then the way I talk is different, right? So the voice is really how you show up. It can be really helpful to kind of look at it on a scale. No one really is going to be exactly the same. I tend to be all the way over on the casual scale, right? I probably tend a little, maybe too casual sometimes. However, I'm also pretty playful, more sarcastic than inspirational for sure. But the point of this is really to help you ground your voice. So you can say how do I show up? And I do think one thing that's helpful to clarify here is that your brand voice does not have to be a clone of your personal voice. There can be differences. The way I speak in my personal life is not 100% how I speak in my professional life. There are things that I just don't bring over that professionally, they don't make it. However, okay, so if my personal voice is all the way casual, my professional voice is where this one is, right? I'm not going all the way to the other and saying, I'm going to show up as this very serious, formal, authoritative person when I am not that person inside. What I want you to hear me say here is that there is no right answer. There's not where do I need to end up on this scale? What's the right thing? The right thing is who you are and what your clients need. So if you are speaking to attorneys and you are an attorney speaking to other attorneys, your voice is probably going to tend a little bit more serious, a little bit more professional, a little bit more formal and authoritative, because that's what your clients need. And that's who you are in that professional role. So I think sometimes we can look at brand voice and think there's a good brand voice and then there's a not good brand voice, but that's not true. And we do hear, I think certain brand voices get amplified in the online space for women specifically. There's a certain level of bubbly over the topness that can stand out, and we can feel pressured to show up that way. But if you have a very serious, measured, deliberate voice, and instead of trying to be something you're not, you lean into that, you are going to draw out of the woodworks. All these people are going to be coming that are oh my gosh, I've been waiting for someone to slow down, to be deliberate with their words, to feel like they care, to make sure they understand. And so there are people, there's people for everyone. Every single one of us has clients. And the more you can lean into your unique brand voice and stay consistent with it, so you're not hopping all over the place and showing up super sarcastic one day and then, really measured and calm the next day. You don't want to confuse people. So you do want it to be pretty consistent, which is why it has to be rooted in who you actually are, because you can't fake it. You can for a while. I tried. It's really hard. And then it always blows up. So you want it to be your voice. Also, I want to talk a little bit about AI. So People all the time ask me as a copywriter, like, oh my gosh, Emily, are you so scared of AI? Like, no, actually, I love AI. I am not anti-AI in any regard. However, you have to use it correctly. We've seen a lot of people using AI to like write a website, to write their blog posts, to write their emails, just straight up like copy, pasting, putting it in. And that's never going to work, because the truth is, no matter how savvy these GPTs get, like no matter how savvy they get, they cannot replicate your brand voice. One, they also do not understand your strategy. Yes, you can feed in and tell, like, here's how I describe all these things. You can give it some good stuff to work with, but it isn't you, and it also doesn't have your perspective. So no matter what you tell AI, like how you describe things and your perspective and all that, it doesn't live inside your brain, and it can't be you. Also, if you need more inspiration, Google is really cracking down on AI content right now. They're fine-tuning their brilliant, terrifying algorithm to cut out AI generated blog posts and content and website content, because people want your personal take. They want your opinions. They want to hear your voice. And so even Google is like, we're not showing this stuff if you need a reason not to use it. But you totally can use AI as a tool to help you, right? Ideas, inspiration, content. It can write really great outlines. You can do a lot. And as long as you're editing and going in and like using what it gives you and actually putting your own spin and your own voice on it, it's a fabulous tool. You just don't want to rely on it to actually generate everything, because everyone else who's doing that is also putting pretty much the exact same thing out there. So yeah.
I was just saying, we hope that we've convinced you that you need to create a personal brand in order to grow your business, and you need to come off mute in order for other people to understand you. So we're going to leave you with a little bit of homework. So if you've got a notebook or screen capture, or take out your phones, take a picture of this, we want to send you home with 3 things to kind of noodle on. So the first thing is, how do you approach your clients differently than your competition? And what makes you unique? Often the things that make you unique are your personal story, right? What you've been through that brought you to this place. Often it's your baggage, right? I have a podcast called Bosses with Baggage, and the whole point of it is, so many of us come to these places of wanting to have a purposeful and profitable business because we've come from a place of some sort of pain. And so your pain and your story is often your business. And so kind of spending some time thinking about that, right? What is the reason why I'm so good at what I'm doing? What's the origin story, right? What makes me unique versus everybody else out there? And it's not about your product, though your product may be unique as well, but what is it unique about you? So that's the first thing we want you to journal on. The second thing is, what is something visually that you can utilize to identify yourself in your marketing? So for me, it's actually these red glasses, which kind of happened as a mistake. I had 2 different pairs of glasses that came together. One was clear, one was red, and I lost the clear ones, and I started wearing the red ones when I first did this business, and I started doing videos in it. And all of a sudden, people were like, "Oh my God, your red glasses!" And my brand photographer was like, "We have to take pictures in the glasses," and I was like, "I don't need them unless I'm on my computer." But they've become this really strong visual element, so that as people are scrolling, right? Because we have to stop that scroll. What is that visual element, right? It can be your background. It could be the color that you wear. It could be a hat. It could be glasses. It could be that you always put something together like this, where you have a big slide with very distinct colors on it, right? What is something right now that visually you can use to identify what your brand in everything that you do? And the third thing we want you to think about and do a little journaling on is writing a 1 to 2 sentence description of what you do and how you do it uniquely. So this kind of takes what you thought about in the first one and really writes it down on paper. It's an interesting exercise to do this because we want it to be done from a place that's kind of personal, right? Not just, I'm a financial consultant and I will help you to build, wealth and retire early. I think that works great, but you want to talk about how you do it uniquely. So it could be something that's part of your origin story. So let's say, as someone whose, parents died destitute, even after working their entire lives, I understand the impact of not properly saving for your retirement. And because of that, I've become obsessed with becoming a personal financial planner, helping people, in their 40s really figure out how they're going to plan for retirement all the way through our extended lifespan. Right? That's a much more compelling kind of a message. So really think about what's 1 to 2 sentence description, not just sort of the one you normally do about your product, but really about why what you do in that is different. And if you're like, I need more of Sherry and Emily and Natalia, we would love to work with you. We've put together something called your Personal Brand Lab. We can help you put together all different types of things. We can help you with the overall strategy, your visual design, your overall online presence, and copy that converts. And you can work with all 3 of us. You can work with one of us, whatever makes the most sense for you and where you are in your business right now. But we all would love to work with you and to help to support you to grow your purposeful and profitable business. And we hope that you will stay in touch. Here is the information on how to get a hold of us, where to stalk us online. Actually, Emily does not have this Insta account. Instagram doesn't like Emily. We're not sure. We're not sure why. They had a bad breakup. It's a thing. We don't talk about it, but this is her. This is her website. You can find her there. She is incredible. I can tell you, I am both a client as well as a partner of both of these amazing women. We've probably worked on many client projects together where I kind of help people with the strategy. And then, Natalia helps with the overall brand and the website, and Emily writes incredible copy. And I can't speak more highly than, I don't know if that doesn't make any sense. This is why you need a wordsmith like Emily, but I can't speak. Truly, these are my go-to women for any kind of, visual and personal branding, visual writing, anything. They are incredible. So Emily and Natalia, any final words?
I have some final words. If you're over there starting your business, you're halfway in, just take your time. You don't need all the things done at once. If you have strategy and not all the resources, that's awesome. If you have some of the resources and you're figuring out the strategy, that's also fine. So I think it's just like the message that yes, getting to a place where you can do all these things and outsource them and have us join your team is amazing, but also feel super proud and excited of where you're at right now. Take whatever we left you today and work through it, make your notes, and just know that we're cheering for you over here.
And I would say it's never too late to really dig in on your personal brand. I was more than a year into business before I really took my personal brand seriously and stopped trying to be something that I wasn't. So even if you've been successful, you've gotten clients, you are like doing it, you can be, you know, a year, 2 year, you can be in. And if you look at how you're showing up as you're in your business, as your business owner, like if it's not aligned, if it's not how you want to be presenting yourself, it's never too late to change it. So I think sometimes we are like, oh, well, you got to do this at the very beginning, or, well, you're stuck with what you're stuck with. And you can, I mean, I'm constantly refining how I show up. I'm constantly refining, you know, I just went through like a big brand refresh 4.5, 5 years in. So it's never too late to really get serious about your personal brand.
Yeah, and I'm just going to echo what Emily said. I'm actually working with Natalia and Emily right now on refreshing my personal brand, right? Because it's something that, you know, again, 4 years in, I'm finding that the vibe that I want to show up in my business is different. I want the visuals that reflect that. And I want, you know, the copy to reflect that as well. And as somebody who I am a nearly 30-year marketer. I'm a terrible writer. And so I need Emily to give me some of that standard content. So it's not something, again, you're right. It's not one and done. And, you know, when you're just starting, you might put together some things and be like, okay, I'm going to do this. The biggest thing is staying consistent with it for long enough for it to make some sort of an impact. So find something, whether it's with us or on your own, and really work the strategy for a solid 6 months, because you're just not going to know if it's going to work until you give it that long. You can kind of hate it there towards the end, right? And that's okay. And know that you're going to refine it later. But that's true of your overall business strategy, right? That's true of all of your marketing, of all of your branding. It is an evolutionary process as long as you give it long enough to really, really work. Good. Well, we hope that this was helpful. If you need any of us, our information's on the screen, and we appreciate you so much. Even if you don't need any of this information, we are just so happy you're here. And if you know anybody who needs this information, please pass it on. We appreciate you so much. Just like you, referrals are our best friends. And so if you were impressed with what you heard and saw today, we would appreciate the shout out to anybody who you think might find this information valuable. Thank you so much. Mwah. Okay. We appreciate you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Mwah.